Sweet. Okay, cool. So, Laura and Lena, you guys weren't here last week, correct? Am I remembering that right? Okay, yeah, that's totally fine. So, Jack, tell me, what did we talk about last week?
We talked a lot about kind of body isolation and kind of isolating different tones within your body.
All right. How so? Elaborate on that a little bit here.
We kind of talked about the arrow analogy,
Mm-hmm.
how you kind of think about an arrow shooting from one side of your body, kind of diagonally through to the other, and kind of we use that for kind of as we're midway through a turning figure. We kind of think about that as we finish up the figure, just to kind of help to hold that position, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that right.
No. I really like what you're saying. So if you were to set up into frame, how would you think about this?
Could you rephrase that a little bit?
Yeah. Actually, I'll change it a little bit. So if you were doing a half natural, how would you think about the arrow? Like, what does that really mean to you?
I think I would mostly think about it kind of on the second half of the figure. And I would kind of, as I'm starting out, I would initiate that rotation from the upper body. And then as I'm kind of on 2 and 3, I would kind of think about kind of bringing
Bringing your
in from right to left.
Yeah.
Aid in that rotation and kind of pulling in of my kind of lower kind of pelvic area.
Perfect. I love it. I love what you're saying right now. Got some great ideas. Cool. So, hello Ames, hello Marita, nice to see you guys. Yeah, to sort of recap. So, last week we talked more in depth about our centers, and specifically instead of like we talked about last semester, pulling it back to just sort of activate it. Right now, we're all starting to sort of get more comfortable with that idea. Now we're going to want to start thinking about using our center and moving it. Right, and obviously you don't want to be doing this all the time, but instead of just sort of activating it, we want to think about like we're pulling a rope, and our center is sort of going from like the front side of our right hip out the back side of our left, or vice versa. And so we sort of make these diagonal arrows through our center, like here and here and here and here. Boom. Sweet. And so if I can get everyone to just stand up here for a second. Boom. We'll do a quick little warm up here to get ourselves moving. Ooh, I know I am very sore. We'll start with just some arm circles. And once you've done around 20 or so, we can go ahead and swap other direction. Go ahead and do some shoulder circles. Make sure you go both directions here. You can do some head circles as well. This is going to be a little bit more free form, kind of find where it might feel especially stiff in your own body. See if you can get that spot moving. Okay. And I want everyone to go ahead and stand all the way up on their tiptoes. Boom. Hold. Imagine like you're holding your breath, everything's up really tight, and then release. And as you're releasing, I want everyone to sink down a little bit into the floor and really try to push all the air out of your stomach. Boom. And then in this sort of lowered position, I want you guys to stay there. Think about keeping your center activated and start to rock from left to right. You don't have to worry about moving your center or anything like that. Just feel how movement impacts your center, right? You sort of start to feel stuff shifting. All right. You can go ahead, do some turns, move around a little bit, take some quicker steps and some slow ones. Boom. And then go ahead and shake things out. Okay. So when we're thinking about this, we want to make sure that we keep our core energized, but not tight. What do I mean by that? So let's go, Lauren and Alina. If I were to tell you guys to keep your center tight, or keep your center energized, but not stiff and tight, what does that make you think of? Boom. If you would explain it to sort of someone who's brand new to dance, what would you say?
Like having the muscles activated, but like still relaxed and being able to like breathe still.
Yeah, exactly that. And so how do you think about activating your muscles like that? You know, how do you not just like clench everything super tight?
I think just like think about like collecting everything together, but not actually like squeezing it together.
Yeah, okay. I really like that. That's awesome. Cool. Great. So yeah, that you kind of hit the nail on the head right there. So good job. We can think about sort of collecting in if we want to, and making sure that our center, it feels engaged and energized, but it's not so stiff that we can't move it at all, right? And so a good way to sort of check is go ahead and activate your center and then try to take a breath. If you can keep your center engaged while breathing, one, that's good because you should always be breathing when you're dancing. You know, take it from my own personal experience. Make sure you breathe while you dance. It's not good to hold your breath. And then also that means that you've sort of got the right idea, right? So we're going for energized, but not stiff and tight. Boom. So go ahead, shake things out a little bit here, relax, do whatever you need to do. And then go ahead and activate your center here. Boom, boom. Okay, so once you've all found like roughly your split weight position, now we're going to think about sort of taking, Jack had mentioned, an arrow, sticking it from the right front part of your hip out through your center and then out the back left side, right? So you want to be aiming for like about here on your back and sort of roughly on the front here on your side. So what do I really mean by that? Well, what I think about is it's like someone is sort of pulling my center through my own body. And it's going to feel like you're sort of hunching over a bunch here, right? And it's okay to feel a little bit hunched. You obviously don't want to go all the way there. We're going to go ahead and start to sort of create this shape. Boom. I know one of my coaches really likes to talk about you're flattening out your back while you're doing this, right? It's sort of like, to them, it sort of feels like they're being like a turtle. Boom. So hopefully when you go and you make this shape, it's like your back is expanding, your center should feel really, really engaged. Boom, boom. And you feel like you're in a nice, really big shape. Boom, boom. Awesome. How's that going so far? Any questions? Starting to feel something? Great. Okay, so then we can actually, use this while we're doing steps. But actually, before we get into that, let's go ahead and practice the other side really quick here because you should always practice both sides. So boom, we found like our nice left shape. We can go ahead and reset to the center. And now we can think about doing the exact same thing, except going from the front part of our left hip and then out the right side of our back. Boom. If you want to get extra fancy here, you can try switching. It's going from left, center, right, neutral, left. Boom. And it really does feel like I'm sort of standing here and going like this and like this. Boom. Boom. I'm obviously exaggerating those movements a lot. You want them to be much smaller and much more internal. But that is sort of what it feels like. Boom. You can sort of see I've got a little movement here. Sweet. Go ahead and try that just a couple more times here. Awesome. Sweet. Okay. How's that feel? Does everyone feel kind of silly here? I know I definitely do, always. Great. Okay, so I want to actually get to putting this into steps a little bit faster here. So we talked a lot about the half natural yesterday, or not yesterday, last week. And like Jack had mentioned here, as you're finishing your half natural, we can think about sort of taking this and pulling to our left as we're finishing, right? So if I'm dancing the least perspective here, I'm going 2, pulling 3, right? And it's going to be pretty much the exact same thing for the follows. 1, 2, 3. Boom, boom. But today I want to sort of switch things up a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit more about tango. Boom, boom. And how we can actually use our center for that. So we're just going to go ahead and do it's corte to, I don't know, draw closed or something like that. Then back to a promenade position here. So hopefully steps that everyone's somewhat familiar with, right? And the thing that I really like about this is it sort of highlights some of the different aspects of using your center. So what we can do is, if I'm dancing the least perspective right now, I'm going to be standing on my right leg, and then I'm going to take a very small step to the side and hit a corte. And so really what I'm doing is I'll be sort of in a neutral position for now. And I'm going to think about hitting a really strong left side position. Boom, boom. And then what you do is you're going to draw your foot closed. Sorry, I know you can't see my feet, but you're going to be drawing your right foot closed. And while you're doing this, you're going to think about pulling even harder, right? And so that's why I really like this action. Is you go, you hit this shape, and then as you pull your leg in, it's like you're pulling your center more is kind of causing your leg to come in. Boom. And then from there, you switch to a right back shape to get into a promenade. I know that was super quick. Sort of play around with that a little bit, Jack and Ames. I'm going to hop to the follows part here. So follows, you're going to be doing, surprise, surprise, the same thing, but mirrored. So you're going to go ahead and start with your weight on your left foot. Boom, boom. You can take a very small step to your right, and you can sort of make that like corte shape that we all like to think about. Boom, boom. And here, you're going to go ahead and be pulling from your left to your right. Boom, boom. Then you're going to go ahead and think about drawing your left foot close and pulling even more with your center. I got to give myself a little more space here. But boom, boom. You're going to pull close with your center. And then you're going to go ahead and switch to promenade and send your energy from your right now out to your left. Boom. Okay. I know that was super fast. Let's try it just a couple times really quick here. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and give us a lot of counts here. We're going to go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right. So we're going to count it nice and slow. Everyone go ahead and sort of find your neutral position here. Boom, boom. Think about whatever you need to think about. Activate your center. Leads left foot free, follows your right foot. And here we go. Go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Reset. We're going to try this a couple more times here. We're going to go here.
Quick question.
Yeah, fire away.
Which direction are you facing? Like, which directions are you using when you're doing that?
Sorry, what direction? What was the last part? What directions am I using when I what?
Like when you're going into promenade, so you're stepping to the left with your left foot as a lead.
Yep.
And then you're bringing your foot in, and then is promenade then like to my left, or is it straight ahead?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's to your left. You're traveling down the exact same line, right? So if I were to actually do this on a dance floor, I'd be facing directly to the wall, and I'd be taking this down line of dance, collecting and resetting to go promenade down line of dance again. Just make sure a corte isn't supposed to be a traveling step, so don't necessarily think about traveling super far. But yes, you do want to go down line of dance. Great question. Any other questions? Sweet. Let's try this just a couple more times. Boom, boom. All right, go ahead and find your starting position here. Here we go. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And again. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Boom, boom. Awesome. How's that feeling? What's going on here? Are we feeling like taffy, like our centers are all nice and stretchy? Are we feeling just super confused?
I feel good, but I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing on each count.
Okay, yeah. Like with your center or just in general, or?
Kind of in general, but kind of both.
Okay, yeah.
Like I think you described it well in terms of like all of what we're doing, but not matching the counts.
Oh, okay, yeah, gotcha. Cool. So on 1 and 2, that's going to be your corte. 3, 4 is when you're going to be closing, and then 5, 6, 7, 8 is when you're turning to promenade. This is at half tempo. So if you actually dance this in standard, it'd be more along the lines of 1, 2, 3, 4. But that's fast, that's hard. So we're gonna slow that down. Yeah, so on the 1 and 2, we want to be hitting our corte. Okay, so what we're thinking about, sorry, I'm gonna demonstrate this from the least perspective. I can also do it in the falls in just a second here. So we're going 1, 2. And what I want to do is I'm sort of going from my standing foot here. And it's like I'm preparing, and then I'm stopping as fast as I can almost. Right. So the key to tango, and getting speed in tango is stillness, really. But that's not really the focus for today. So don't worry about that too much. What we're going to be doing here is we're going to go 1, hit. And so I almost think of it as like, in flea hops, when we talk about like you're getting punched in the stomach, right? You're going to go flea hop. And sort of like you're exhaling a bunch, ringing some bells. Cool. It's sort of like that, right? I like to think of it as I'm going to go do my corte, and then it's like I'm sort of shooting all the air out of my stomach. Boom, boom. 1, 2. So I'm holding a really strong position here. My center is really engaged, really pulling back into my left. And then 3, 4. Well, so what happens here is we actually start our movement again. Boom, boom. 3, 4. And what you're doing is, again, I like to think a lot about that rope analogy. So it's like my center is already being pulled back into the left. And then somehow, some way, I'm going to activate it even more, right? And it's like, it's really activated, and then I'm pulling it even more to draw my leg close. Boom. So I've hit my corte. 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom, boom. And then the last 4 counts, switching from this position back to promenade, right? So we've gone, boom, boom, we hit 3, 4, and then we're going to go ahead and sort of switch our weight from being on our left foot to our right. And then there's sort of like a flicking action. I don't want you guys to worry too much about some of the finer like styling details and stuff like that, because I don't know if you can dance this in syllabus, and that's not really the point. You can for sure dance cortes and promenades in syllabus, but this like specific linking through, I don't quite know if that's legal. But I digress. Not really the purpose of this, right? So we're hitting boom, boom, and we're switching our weight. So we've pulled. And so now it's like I've collected in, I've like taken all the force I can muster, thrown it out the left side of my back, boom, boom. And then I go ahead and switch. You'll notice that before I switch, I'm sort of like moving my hands a little bit to the left to then switch and settle onto my right. If you're dancing with a partner, of course, you don't want to toss your top line around, but that can be something helpful to sort of get the feeling of your weight transferring. Right, so again, I've hit, collected, and boom. And so really what I feel is I've built up all this like tension. Again, not necessarily the best word, because, you know, it's not the best word. So I'm going to say energy. I've built up all this energy pulling to my left side, and then I go ahead and I sort of release it slightly and then sort of have it settle down. So I like take that energy and I let it dissipate through neutral and then start to build it back up. Right? So if you imagine sorry, I don't want to get super physicsy on everyone. I'm very sorry about that. If you imagine like a pendulum, right? So it's like your energy is all the way up here, and then you let it go down, sink, and then you start to build it back up. So you've at your peak state here, and then you settle down and then build it again the other direction, right? And so we don't have to worry about making that punchy action like we did on this very first corte when we're doing this. We can think about sort of drawing it out a little bit. I say that, but in reality, you only get 2 counts to do this. Excuse me. And we settle down and find that spot again. Does that kind of clarify some stuff, Ames? Does that sort of help match the counts in your actions? Great. Any other questions? Follows everything I just said, all those analogies, they're the same, just, you know, if I said your left foot, it's going to be your right.
Kai,
Yes.
could you just run down through the follows part a couple of times?
Absolutely. Boom, boom. Yeah. So you're going to go ahead, your right foot's going to be free. Boom, boom. You're going to go and you're going to corte. So again, you're going to think about that like punching action. You're going and you're stopping. Full disclaimer, I can't quite demonstrate it quite as well on the follow-up side. Boom, there, right? So now you're thinking about pulling from your left out, back and through your right. You've hit this nice, really strong position here. Boom. Then you're going to go ahead and think about that sort of tug of war action, pulling even more from your left out through your right to collect. And then you're going to go ahead and think about switching your weight and settling and taking that energy, letting it drop down, and then building it up and switching. Right, so you're going from pulling from your left to your right, to your neutral, pulling from your right to your left. So again, we're going to go ahead. Right foot will be free here. Corte. Pull it closed and settle.
With the quarter, the head position is going from the left to the right and then quickly to the left back. Right. It's like a very quick move.
It is a very quick move. And also it's going to be a bit different and smooth, like what Kate and Lisa are doing. Sorry, I'm gonna need to think for 1 second here. Yeah, so the way you'd enter this is like from a promenade position. So you're in your promenade, your head's looking over your shoulder to your right. Boom. And then in the corte, you're gonna be stretching out to your left. Don't worry so much about your head right now. Really focus on engaging your center. Awesome.
But the ending position for the corte, you said, head to the left. However, it moves to the right in the middle of that move. I would think so.
Okay, yes. Yeah, there's sort of like a slight little flick that you might be seeing me do.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do that flick for sure. Again, though, I would not worry about that at all right now.
Okay. Thank you.
Not a problem. All right, let's try this a couple more times here. Boom, boom. Here we go. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Boom. Go ahead and reset. Find some space here. We're going to try to do a couple in a row. And here we go. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Awesome. And then go ahead and deep breathe a nice big sigh of relief. Hopefully you guys' core is starting to really heat up and sort of get a little bit tired probably. How's that going so far? Any other questions here? Okay. Are you guys starting to feel the different directions in your center? If I say like pull from right to left, does that feel different than left to right or neutral? Okay. Sweet. I'm going to go ahead and have you guys try it 2 more times here on your own. I'll go ahead and give you guys some counts. And here we go. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And pause. Cool. Okay. Yeah. It seems like you guys are starting to get the right idea here. Cool. So we can apply, all of this everywhere in our dancing. I just find that it's easier for me to focus more on moving my center in tango, just because it doesn't have like as much swing and everything like that. So if you wanted to go ahead and take this and apply it to something completely different, say we're going to go back to the half natural here, how would you go about that? Let's go Ames. I'm not sure I've called on you yet today. With hopefully these newfound sensations, how would you go about doing this in your half natural now?
Okay, so for my half natural, I like to think about using my center to draw my legs in. So I don't know if I can apply it as much to like legs swing forward, possibly in the prep step, but then after driving, being able to bring my center over my right leg to help me send that side forward, and then draw my right leg in behind me. Makes a lot of sense to me, or like, seems like something that I could practice.
Yeah, great. You talked a lot about drawing your leg in and everything like that. Yeah, you made a good point. Don't necessarily worry about the first part of the action with the leg swing, but yeah, the pulling in and creating that shape with your center. Great. Awesome. Cool. Lauren, if you wanted to do this in a box step, how would you, if I was like, all right, Lauren, I really want to use my center in a box step, but I don't know how. What comes to mind here?
I think it'd be used during like the side steps more than anything, because like you do the back, and then here you'd pull like from the front right, like back through your left, like collect up.
Yeah. So if you wanted to say you're going to start your box step going forward, if I'm stepping from left to right, where should I be thinking about using my center?
I would say like you use it in the like as you're transitioning to like pull to that one foot, and then as you collect, like pull more.
Yeah, love it. Boom. Okay. Do we want to do that? Give me 1 second. Okay, just one moment here. We'll save that for a rainy day. Cool. Yeah. Any other questions on center activation? If I were to say, okay, try out doing, one of your routines, obviously with the space that you have, and think about where you're using your center at which point. How would that be like reasonable? Do you guys think you could sort of figure it out? Kinda. Okay. Maybe let's go through it a little bit more then, actually. So let's say we're hopping back to Waltz here. All right, we've already talked a lot about the half natural. What about the back half of the natural, right? So for leads, we're going to start going back on our left foot, follows forward on our right. What are we thinking about here? So we've gone, and we're in this position. Boom. Jack, what do you think the first thing's going to be?
This may not be right, but
Doesn't matter.
About kind of as we're taking that step back, kind of drawing our center in toward our spine as we take that back step.
Yeah. So as you're starting this back step, where is your center going to be? Is it going to be pulling from now on? I'm just going to call it left or right, when in reality left means from right to left. So I'm just going to call out the end positions. So is your center going to be pulling left, neutral, or right?
Would it still be in the left position from the first half?
Well, try it. All right, and everyone, we can all sort of go ahead and try it with Jack here. Boom. All right, what do you think?
That's at least what I feel if I'm doing it.
Yeah. So boom. You've ended. Your center's pulling to the left. You start to lower down. Boom. And you still sort of feel yourself pulling to the left. Okay. Yeah. So what I like to think about is I've gone and I've pulled to the left here and we've made this shape. But now with my partner, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to transition to shapes, right? So a lot of times on this very first step, we're going to be transitioning shapes. There are going to be cases in figures where you hold one shape for a while, but we're not going to worry about the exceptions right now. So we've pulled leftward in this shape, and then we're going to go ahead and reset to neutral here. And now after I've gone and taken my first step, boom, boom, I'm going to go ahead and sort of swing my leg past, and then I'm going to start taking my center, and I'm going to swing up and pull to the right. Boom. Follows. Take a guess as to what you guys could do. It's going to be the same, but opposite. Yeah. So, Alina, if you've gone and you've just finished your the first part of your half natural, boom, boom, your left foot should be free. What are you going to think about doing?
So the left foot is free. That's the left side is gonna be going forward, right? I'm sorry, I don't know the names of like anything, so I'm just kind of.
Oh. Yeah, you know what? That's very fair. My apologies. Boom, boom.
It's okay.
Yes. So your right side is going to be forward. Right? So you've gone you've done like your prep step and everything like that. So this is a lot of times just the first figure you do in Waltz, where you sort of step back, side together. Right? And so we've gone and we're going to go back side together. Your right side's forward and you're pulling your left side. Boom, boom. So then from here, we're going to go ahead and take a guess. We're going to go ahead and we're going to sort of settle down, reset to neutral, and then we're going to step through the second part of the figure here. So we'll go back side together. I'm pulling to our left right now, and we'll settle down, go neutral as we start this step, and then we pull to our left. Cool. Awesome. Does that help sort of going through the process? Like, is this making some sort of sense as to how you can sort of apply this to all different figures?
Mhm.
Kind of. Okay. Perfect. The other thing is trial and error is a very valid strategy in dance. So if you're like, I don't quite know about this, try doing it one way, try doing it the other way. Maybe one of them feels a lot better and you're like, yeah, I think this could be right.
Ask a quick question.
Go for it. Please ask.
Could you kind of detail what how we kind of reset? Is that like a passive process that just happens on its own by relaxing, or is that something that we actively do?
Okay. Yes. My bad. That's kind of some confusing terminology by me. So when I say reset to neutral, what I mean is I'm going from one shape where I'm pulling really, really hard, just like the pendulum. I've got all my energy pulling to the left. I'm sort of resetting it down back to neutral. And so that's going to be something you're going to have to think about. A lot of times we talk about resets as as in like reset points in choreography, where you can like sort of get readjusted, adjust your frame back and find each other's centers and everything like that. That's also what resets are called a lot. Really what I'm talking about is you're transitioning through neutral, and that is going to be something you're going to have to think about doing. Does that help?
So in general, we always finish out a figure kind of in the activated position on kind of one side, and then we always take the start of the next figure to reset. Is that kind of a general rule?
Yes, exactly that. Because if we're in neutral, then we're square, and it's not where we want to be. Yeah, no, great clarification there. Any other questions? This is all kind of a lot. That's totally fine. Cool. Okay. Then let's try this just a little bit more, and let's try this going through some box steps, right? To try to sort of get a longer pattern in this. Okay, so we sort of already talked about this, but we're going to go ahead. I'm going to start going forward. You follow us if you'd like to start going backwards. That's totally fine. We're going to go ahead and think about going forward and then side close, right? And as we're doing this side step, boom, we're going to be pulling from our left to our right. So we'll go forward, side, close, back, side, and we're going to go from right to left, close, and forward, side, close, back, side, close, forward, side, close, back, side, close. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Great. All right, Ames, got a question for you. What's the longest beat in waltz?
This is a good one. The longest beat?
Yep.
I feel like the 1 is the most accented. I know that one. That's an easy one. But I almost feel like the 2 is the longest.
You are exactly correct. And if you guys have any sort of musical background, you might be like, what on earth is Kai talking about? In dance, we often stretch and contract beats, sort of, make it more musical. So what else is happening on that 2, right? We know that 2 is our longest beat, but go ahead here. We're going to go step 1. What are we doing on 2?
Where the majority of the rise happens.
Yeah.
Is there also a shape change there?
Sorry, what was that, Ames?
Is there also a shape change there?
In this case, let me make sure I give you the right answer here. Yeah, I'll buy that. There's kind of a shape change there.
I would say, this is Marina. I would say we are pulling and collecting.
Yes, that's really what I wanted to get at here. These are all some great answers, but you'll notice that this is when we're pulling and collecting, right? So the other thing we can think about is that pulling and collecting is also what helps gives us length in this second step, in this second beat of waltz, right? So we can think about going 1, 2, 3. And so after the first beat of 3, what are we doing in waltz? We call this our 3E and a lot, right? We're starting to lower. As we're starting to lower, what are we doing with our centers?
Shifting.
Shifting where?
I mean, depends whether you're a follower or a leader, and like what side of the box you are.
So if I've just done my first box, I'm pulling to the right here, and I'm starting to lower. Am I going to be shifting? Am I going to try to shift all the way to pulling on my left, or am I going to shift to neutral? Am I going to stay right? What are we thinking here?
I think it's like part of resetting neutral, and then again you're shifting it a little bit to the side. So like you involve the neutral and resetting, but afterwards you're still
Mhm.
you have a
Yeah. Yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start. I'm pulling to my right here, 3E and a. So I like to think about I'm resetting down to the neutral, and then I'm even, as Marina said, gonna get started thinking about pulling to wherever I need to pull to. In this case, it's gonna be starting to pull. Think about pulling with my left side, right? So I'm going 2, 3E and a, resetting to neutral, and then starting to think 1, 2, 3E and a, 1, 2, 3E and a. Right, so we can coordinate these movements of our center with the movements of the rest of our body, which is no coincidence or anything like that, right? So what I like to think about in my head, you may have noticed I've been doing these weird little hand gestures this entire lesson, is, like I mentioned, being like a piece of taffy. All right, so I'm going and I'm stretching out the taffy. I'm stretching out my center. And then I'm sort of, if you watch them make saltwater taffy, they stretch it and then they normally like fold it in on itself. We want to be a little bit careful about thinking about folding in on ourselves, because if you think about that literally, that's not quite what we're going for. But nevertheless, we're thinking about stretching our center out, and then it's coming together. And then I go and I stretch out, and then it comes together. Is this all making sense? Great. Okay. We're going to try this a couple more times in our box step. Thank you guys so much for bearing with me on kind of a pretty technical subject here, but hopefully one we're having fun with. We're going to go and 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Last box. 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Great job, you guys. That's starting to look really good there. Exactly. Shake things out, Ames. Great. Any other questions?
I think I may have missed it the first time you were talking about it, but when do you find neutrality in the basic?
Yeah. So it's as you're lowering, right? So I know, Jack, you just made a very excellent point about how you don't want to end the figure in neutral. That is exactly true. If you end a figure, you can stop, you can, drop frame, check with your partner. Am I in a shape right now? Am I square? I know for me personally, it's normally, oh, gee, I'm square again. But in an ideal world, you are not square. But really what that means is we sort of end that figure in our shape, and then as we're going that 3E and is when we're resetting to neutral, right? We can time it with the lowering of our legs. So if you want, Ames, you can think, 1, 2, 3. And then as you're resetting to neutral, you're going toe, knee, heel, knee, heel. All right, you can start to sort of time this with other mnemonic devices that you might be thinking about when you're dancing. Boom, boom. Great question. Okay. Any other questions?
Kai?
Yeah.
So you said when we go back, we do toe, knee, heel. And when we go forward, I'm assuming it's heel, knee, toe, right?
So yeah, let me just clarify that really quick. Yeah, so a way to think about lowering, and this is just for lowering, is toe, knee, heel, knee, heel. Okay, so what on earth does that even mean? So if we're on sort of the balls of our feet, we're standing up here and we want to lower, we can think about like bending our knee, or we think about lowering with our toe, knee, put our heel down, knee, heel. Right, so we can sort of think about this like segmented path that we're following to lowering. And the whole point of that is to get you lowering down into your heels. This isn't really something we've talked about much, but when you're dancing, especially waltz, I'm sure you guys have all heard, you really want to drive on the ones, right? Well, if you imagine you're throwing a baseball, you're going to get a lot more power throwing it like that, or if you wind up and throw it. It's going to be if you wind up, right? And it's the same sort of concept in dance. Are you going to get more power just pushing from your toe or pushing from your heel, right? The heel acts as our wind up. And so we want to think about driving from our heel in every dance. Yeah. Okay, I suppose every smooth standard dance gets a little bit different in rhythm. But say, for example, we're doing a half natural, we're going to think about driving from our heel to then carry us forward through that step. And so what I can think about is, like I said, say I'm landing the last step of my box, 1, 2, and as I'm taking this 2 step, I'm transferring onto my right foot, going toe, right? So right now I'm on my toe foot, or on the toe of my foot. And I think about lowering my knee, right? So I'm increasing the angle there. So toe, knee, heel, think about lowering my knee more, and then heel. And so we end on that heel so we can go ahead and drive again.
Okay, so Kai,
Yes.
it's toe, knee, heel. You're already on your heels, and then you said again lower the knee and again the heel. But in between that second part of knee and heel, your heels are still on the ground. You don't let them like lift up. So you do toe, knee, heel, put them on the ground, don't lift them, and sink again into knee and a heel.
Yeah, because your heel can be on the ground, but your weight can be in the ball of your foot, right? If you stand with your feet flat on the ground, you can lean forward and take the weight away from your heels. So that second heel is really to help us think about having the weight in our heel so that we can drive. Does that help?
Yes, thank you so much. And for going forward, it's just heel. It's heel and then knee, and then that's it, right? When you do the forward step.
You can think about toe, knee, heel on every step. Doesn't matter if you're going forward or back. When you're going forward, you're going to be driving off of your heel. When you're going backwards, it's a little bit different. Boom, boom. Toe, knee, heel. It's like, well, think about doing toe, knee, heel on every step. That, yeah.
Okay, so then if we're going forward, it's just exactly the opposite in the opposite sequence, right? If I'm going to write
the exact same sequence.
Same sequence.
Yes.
Except of going forward, you don't start with your toes, you start with your heel. Because with going backwards, you do toes, knee, heel. But going forward, you do heel first. You don't do the toes, right?
So if I'm going forward on a step, I don't want to land on my heel. I want to land on my toe, right? And in fact, especially in waltz, for example.
Can I clear something up real quick?
Yeah.
Marina is talking about driving. She's talking about driving forward and driving backward. You're talking about lowering. I think that's the disconnect here.
Oh, okay.
She's confusing your phrasing for lowering on the 3 with how you're supposed to move on the 1. So Marina, you're right. On the 1 and on the 1, when you're going backwards, you start with your toe. Like that's what hits the ground first. But then you move through your foot. But then when you get to this 3 of the backward step, that's going to be toe knee, heel, knee, heel. Forward on your heel when you're driving forward. And then when you're on the 3 of the forward step, it's a toe knee, heel to lower. Does that make sense? There's no toe knee, heel for going backward. It's just for lowering down.
Okay, so both times when we lower it down, it's the same sequence. I got it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, not a problem. That is a wonderful tangent to go on. Lowering is very important. Surprise, surprise. Sweet. Okay. Any questions about sort of the mechanics of the box step or of the little tango pattern that we did? Any questions on that? No. Okay, great. Let's see here. Okay, we're kind of out of time. I want to try doing a box step just a couple more times. We'll take it slow so you guys can think about all your toe knee, heel knee, heels. You're activating your center and all that stuff. So we'll go ahead and just a couple more box steps here. Boom. And we go. 1. Stretch leg taffy, toe knee, heel knee, heel. 1. Stretch, toe knee, heel knee, heel. 1, 2, 3, and up. 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 And 2, 3, and up. Wonderful. Okay. Hopefully you guys start to feel something different in your body. Hopefully these steps feel different. Yeah, maybe a little bit. Perfect. Okay. That is going to be all from me then for tonight. I'll stick around for a little bit.
Everybody, I miss doing that when we were in person, just applauding ourselves.
Yeah.
But I wanted to just mention before you go, crafts at noon tomorrow, arts and crafts, making Valentine's with Lila, and then I think that's it.
I believe so.
Pod lessons if you have them.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys again. As Abe said, give yourselves a round of applause. I also kind of missed that. And enjoy the rest of your evening. I'll hang around for a couple minutes.
Hey, Kai, I did
Yeah.
have one question, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I find that when I'm thinking about drawing that arrow through my body, I find that I initiate a little bit of rotation in my upper body when I do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I have the arrow to the right, I find that I rotate a little bit to the left.
So when you say to the right, do you mean you're pulling your back through your right side?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And okay, so you're pulling to the right here, and you feel some slight rotation in your top line. What direction again?
To the left.
To the left. Yeah, that's totally fine. You're gonna get like a little bit of this like internal twisting happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I will admit, my expertise only goes so far, but I would say that if you're feeling that, to not be super concerned. The the big thing that I want people to get from this is I want people to start thinking about using their center, and I want them to start feeling using their center. So it's kind of like, you're gonna start doing this and you're gonna do it like as hard as you possibly can. And you're going to work super duper hard and you're going to start to get those muscles activated. And then as you keep trying this, you're going to start to get better control of those muscles, right? You're going to be able to start isolating things a little bit more. And you're going to sort of like make some corrections as you go. But first things first, we got to work super hard on getting that activated, right? So if you're having like a little bit more rotation than you should be for now, I would rather that happen and you feel like you're using your center than not.
I can see how this could be applied to like shifting into outside partner or promenade as well.
Oh, yes. Okay, let me think of a good example here. Yeah. Yep. Especially like, so an outside spin is really like the classic example of good getting outside partner, right? Yeah. Yeah. To get outside partner, really all you're doing is increasing your shape. And the way to help increase your shape is to activate your center.
Yeah.
So yes, going to outside partner, promenades. I mean, it's ideally you want all of your movement to really be starting from here.
Yeah.
So, but no, definitely make sure to do, a bunch of standard figures and play around with this, because you're going to find hopefully some more things are going to make sense. Hopefully things will kind of start to click into place.
Yeah, absolutely. They definitely are. Well, thanks so much for doing this, Kai. Really appreciate it.
Not a problem at all.
Right. Have a great weekend.
You as well.
All right, bye.
Thank you, Kai.
Yeah.